Even with used car prices starting to level off, some Miatas are still going for unthinkably high prices. Despite that, that doesn't mean that you can't get one reasonably priced. In this video, we're going to be going over the Miata Market in 2023 and talking about what you could expect to pay for a beater, a nice presentable daily, or something like a top-of-the-market pristine show car. Before we get into it, let us know down below what you paid for your Miata and what you think is a good deal in today's market. Almost exactly a year ago, I was making a video just like this. Then, in 2022, Miatas and used car prices in general were at an all-time high. Most Miatas were going for more than 5 times what I spent on my first Miata, and many were far exceeding that. Here in 2023, some Miatas are still going for insane prices, and some of the prices keep creeping higher. In this video, I want to show you what I look for when I'm looking at Miatas for sale to try to determine if they're a good deal or not. In this video, we're going to be looking at some used Miatas for sale in my area on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. Then we'll look at some top-of-the-market Miatas that are listed on high-end sites like Bring a Trailer. At the end of this video, I'll talk about why Miatas are so valuable and why they're such an awesome car, why I keep buying more of them, and why people like you probably should too. Alright, for this next segment, I got my phone here and we're going to take a look at some used Miatas in my area. Alright, so the first one comes up is this 96 for $7,250. It's been listed for 3 days. Taking a look at the pictures here, it looks to be a fairly good condition car. However, there's no detail shots of the inside and no close-up pictures of the rocker panels and other common rust spots on Miatas. You want to be conscious of that because these cars do tend to rot out down at the bottom, right there, and it's hard to tell in this picture if this car has any rot or not. Let's see what this thing says. To me, it looks like this car had a decent amount of work done to it recently. It says a new top. A new top is big on these cars because once the tops start to leak, the interiors start to smell and deteriorate and really fall apart. So if it has a new top, that's a good sign because you won't have to do it, and they do tend to wear out. However, you want to get inside the car, get your nose like really calibrated to be smelling for weird smells, and sniff around and just make sure you don't smell anything weird. This car has 108,000 miles and it is a 96 5-speed. I would say that this car is priced slightly high given the pictures, but if this car is actually really nice and they took some nice pictures, I don't see it to be unreasonable for this car to fetch a price somewhere around that point. Next up here we have this 99. This car does have a hardtop and it's listed for $8,000. Hardtops in today's market are worth between $1,800 and upwards of $2,000 depending on if it's a rare color, depending on if it has defrost and a headliner, but hardtops add some serious value to these cars. While we're on the topic of value and being money conscious, I want to share with you a way that you could save money so you could spend more money on your cars. And that is switching your wireless network to Mint Mobile, my partner for today's video. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless service for as low as $15 a month. And you don't have to sacrifice any quality, speed, or data since Mint is built on the nation's largest 5G network. I switched to Mint a little over a month ago and it's saving me a ton of money. Setup for Mint was super easy and I was able to keep my old number, and I was pleasantly surprised that the service is quite good and in some places even better than my old service provider. All Mint plans offer unlimited talk and text, access to a lightning-fast 5G network, and a free mobile hotspot. What are you waiting for? Do you want to check it out and start saving money? Use the link in my description, mintmobile.com/cash, to get premium wireless starting at just $15 a month. Now let's get back to the video. But hardtops add some serious value to these cars. That said, there are still really good deals that pop up on hardtops. You could still get cheap ones or you could pay way more than $2,000. But in today's market, I would say $1,800 is a fair starting point for a good condition hardtop. It's crazy to say that since my first Miata was $1,000, but you could always try to talk the seller down and see what you could get it for. To me, $1,800 is absolutely not worth it for a hardtop, but let us know down below what you think these tops are currently worth. Getting back into this specific car, there aren't too many details on it. It just says runs and drives perfect and doesn't need anything. So looking through, this car looks fairly clean. $8,000 with the hardtop or $65,000 without it. I would say that's reasonably priced. I would try to talk that down a little bit because you always got to try, but that's not too far out of what I would expect to pay for a decently clean NB. One thing to note is this car does look like it's a base model car. If you're looking for a leather interior, that means it's going to have more options and have the limited slip differential. That's really good to have if you're going to track or autocross a car. That said, depending on what you're looking for, again, this doesn't seem completely out of the realm of reasonability for NB. Alright, here's another NB. It's a 99 with 102,000 miles. This car is listed for $5,500. Let's take a look and see what we see. One thing I immediately notice is the rear fender here is starting to bubble up with rust a little bit. Now at this point, you could probably stop it, but you want to be very careful because once these cars start to rot out, it's hard to stop it and it becomes a big time-consuming project that could also get super expensive if you're going to pay someone else to fix this. That said, 102,000 miles is not a lot for one of these cars, but with that rust, I would try to pay a good bit less than $5,500. Next up, we got this white 92 here. This thing's listed in New York. It looks like this car is more along the lines of a beater that someone's going to get, use, maybe daily drive, but this car isn't a pristine car. It's listed for $4,500 here. You could see the body lines don't really match up perfectly. The paint's fading a little bit. Some of these panels look like they might have been resprayed. And again, this car is not perfect, but it is a Miata for $4,500. Personally, I think this car is priced too high, however, and I would try to spend somewhere around $3,000 maximum for this car, but that's because I'm picky. If I'm going to buy a car, I need to know it's a good deal, but to me, yeah, this one's priced a little bit higher than what I would be willing to pay. Now that we've taken a look through Facebook Marketplace a little bit here, let's switch over to Craigslist and see what we could find. Alright, I think we got some really expensive Miatas here, so let's take a look to see if I think that that price is justified. First one here is a 91 with 75,000 miles. Now this car, let's take a look. It looks to be in reasonable shape. The paint looks really nice. I don't see anything jumping out at me like rusted rockers or any big problems like that. The interior of this car was definitely cleaned and it definitely looks nice in there. It does have a rewrapped steering wheel that makes it look a little bulky. Another thing to take a look at is the radiators in these cars. When they start to turn a brownish green, it's time to replace them because otherwise they're likely to break on you. This one's not too bad. I could see a little bit of brownish green around the fill cap there, so you might want to replace it, but I've seen much worse. Anyway, $15,000 for this car definitely seems higher than this thing should be priced. And shortly, I'll show you some Bring a Trailer listings, which are the top of the line listings that will give you a much better indicator of what cars like this are actually selling for. Next up, we have a 90. This one's listed for $19,000. It looks like it's at the same place. This car has 37,000 miles. If you ask me, this car is also overpriced, but again, we'll get into the top of the line Miatas and let us know down below what you think about prices on these really low mileage, pretty nice cars. This one is a 91 with 90,000 miles. It says it needs a top because the rear window needs to be replaced and it's been leaking for a while. Again, if it's been leaking for a while, the interiors of these cars tend to get very musty and very moldy, and it will be a bigger project than just replacing that top. One more here on Facebook before we move on. This car is a 2001, so it's an NB, and this car is listed for $5,000. It has 169,000 miles, so the miles are slightly higher, but this guy took pictures of what you want to see. For example, he posted pictures of the rockers. It looks like it's kind of dirty under there. Maybe he drove through some mud, but you could see that there are no big rot holes on the rockers or the bottoms of the fenders, and that's pretty important. This car does have seat covers, so the seats underneath probably aren't great. You want to take a peek under things like that to see how the condition really is. But overall, this seems like a pretty reasonable car. Again, it's listed for $5,000. So that's really not too bad. Looking at this though, this car might be an automatic, and again, that tends to retract some value, so you have to consider if you want a manual or if you want an auto. If you are specifically looking for an automatic, those cars are generally less valuable, so make sure you're not overpaying for a car with an automatic transmission. Another thing to note while I have this car up is you don't want to overpay for someone else's mods. If someone has a Miata that they think is worth $5,000 on their own and then they put $4,000 worth of mods into it, that does not make that car worth $9,000. Mods could add value if it's something you're specifically looking for, but if it's not, don't overpay for what someone else did to their car. Alright, so here we are on bringatrailer.com. This is a really nice high-end website, so you could get an idea of what high-end, really nice Miatas are genuinely selling for. So on here right now, they only have one live Miata, but if you scroll down, you could see they have 684 old auctions that you could take a look at prices. Now, the first one in here is a 47,000 mile 93. It looks like it has a hardtop. It looks like this car was pretty nice, and this car sold for $11,250. So those cars on Craigslist were definitely overpriced for what they were because they had similar miles to this car. One of them had less, one of them had a bit more, and they were listed for a lot more than this car. This 94 here was sold for $7,000. Now, this car, taking a look at it, wasn't automatic. So this car had pretty low miles, but that automatic transmission definitely pulled some value away from it, and this sold for $7,000. On the flip side, this 5,000 mile 97, so basically a brand new car, sold for $19,500. So that Craigslist car that was asking pretty close to that for one with a lot more miles, I don't think that was a very good deal compared to something like this. Things to look for also when you're looking at Miatas is special editions, cars like these 91 special editions, the limited editions with the red interiors, and M editions are all going to be worth more than a base model car. Before I wrap up this part of the video, I want to show you this crazy car. This is a 1,600 mile 90 Miata 5-speed, and this car sold for $25,000. So this car sold for a ton of money. It clearly deserves to pull that amount of money. This car was really nice. You could see it's a super low mileage car, and this thing was hardly used. So the person that bought this basically bought a brand new Miata for $25,000. On top of that, it looks like this car was detailed by Ammo NYC to probably add some hype and also get more people interested in this auction. So here in recent years and continuing into 2023, Miatas are fetching some really high prices. But why are Miata prices still going up? These are old cars and there were a ton of them made. What it comes down to is value. Miatas deliver a ton of value for the money, and they're really hard to match. In my opinion, they're better than pretty much any car, even at something like a $10,000 price point, which makes them a super appealing choice. Miatas tend to be relatively inexpensive cars to fix, and they're also easy to learn and work on. In addition to that, since there were so many of them made, aftermarket parts and OEM replacement parts are super easy to get, which means you don't have to struggle to source parts to customize your car however you want or repair your car just to keep it on the road. On top of that, there is tons of support and information online, from Facebook groups to YouTube channels like mine and many others, to help you learn about these cars, to find a sense of community with these cars, and really just make sure that you have the best time possible with your automotive experience. If that wasn't enough, Miatas are genuinely a fantastic driving car that handles super well, and they're a great first car to learn how to drive on the limit. When you're ready to step up, it's really easy to add a turbocharger to make more power like my other car, do engine swaps like this V8 swapped Miata that I have here. If you want to see this, definitely subscribe to the channel. There's a lot planned this year with this car. And overall, these are a great starter platform, but they're also a great platform to grow with and modify. And in addition to that, even though there were a ton of these cars made, every day these cars are getting into accidents, they're rusting out beyond repair, and people are abandoning Miatas, and they're just getting to the point where some of these can't be used. Because of that, the number of cars available in the market is going down, so of course prices are going to keep going up. And with that, I want to wrap up this video. Again, let us know your thoughts on the Miata market down below. Also, if you'd like to get some merch or custom parts for your Miata, check out my shop down in the description. Have a great day, and I hope to see you at the next one.